I wanted to tell you guys what they're talking about. And they said, I bet you can't remember live on camera what we said. They said, why wouldn't you open your door to a neighbor who wants a cup of sugar? Why wouldn't you let somebody live with you or stay with you who needs a home? Why wouldn't you give a roll of toilet paper to somebody who needs a toilet paper? Okay, let's figure this out. They disable me. I go on welfare trying to get disability. Then they talk 24/7 using a noise campaign and use some sort of microwave heating to make me hear them. Then use a laser to mark different spots on my head, including this spot. Then insists that I did things that I didn't do. Then try to test my memory, which they just did, and use things to affect my short-term memory. Then try to make sure that I have arguments with everyone because they said they are doing things to make me not hear things correctly. Then insist that I see videos while I'm sleeping so that I don't really get a decent night's sleep because of them. Then they use something to make my face swell and my head swell and have pain throughout my face and body. Then they follow me and videotape me. Then they cause all sorts of problems and say they're the police. Then they say they're collected to different people. The latest thing, and they said, don't say this because if you say this, it's going to be so bad. Well, guess what? For once, I agree with them. They're now just picking people randomly because in my jobs throughout my careers, I've interacted with famous people who you would know by name. Like I wouldn't have to, some people I gotta admit I would have to look up and like that person kind of looks familiar. That's why I'm not going to talk about this person because he kind of looked familiar, but I've met and actually spoken to people who are, you wouldn't even have to look up. So when they're talking about these people, this person wouldn't be that person, but I would just say like they expected me. They said, why don't you contact that person? What kind of crazy person works at the jobs that I've worked at would contact someone I happen to interact with at my job? Who does that? So they said, what about, there was an old man years ago that they said, because they told the story. Again, this isn't my memory. This is them telling stories about an old man named Bert. And they said Bert let somebody move into his apartment with him when I was a little girl. And then they started to beat him up. And this story they told. So how is that testing my memory? Like, I'm not understanding their test of my memory. If you're telling a story and then say it's testing my memory, I don't get that. Okay, so let me just go over this in my way. So that's pretty much what they're talking about. And here's my way. Had they been employed at all with celebrities, they would have found a way to take advantage of the situation. And that's what they do. They take advantage of people. The celebrity that they're referring to is not the most famous celebrity I've encountered or spoken to or been around. But they would have taken advantage of anyone because they even took advantage of me and I'm not a celebrity. I said to them when they were doing this in, I think, 2020, I'm going to make myself a public person so that by doing it publicly, people will know what's happening to me and they'll be aware of it. And that really bothered them because part of what they do is they take advantage of privacy, violating privacy, breaking what's private, creating situations that seem private that are not private. And part of what they did was when I was in the restroom in court, I went for jury duty in 2021. They started saying things like they said, oh, you usually use your foot to press the toilet, to flush the toilet, as opposed to your hand. That's such an invasion of privacy. I think that's another word I should say about privacy. Invading what's private. So they felt that I would be dumb enough to say something about someone who I met on the job, which is public. But in this situation, which I feel is me talking about something in a different way. That's what they would do. That's not who I am. The other point that I want to make on that is that by hitting me in the head, it does change my behavior. It does affect my life. Changing my appearance, causing scarring, trying to remind me of things that they as adults experience in their way that as a child I didn't experience in my way. Is taking something that would have been their memory and trying to make it mine. And they said that's what they were trying to do. They take things that happen, twist it, and use AI to create how I would have said it or done it. But not based necessarily on me, but their version of me. And when they